नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
तच्छ्रद्धानमुनयो
तच्छ्रद्धानमुनयो
ज्ञानवैराग्ययुक्तया
ज्ञानवैराग्ययुक्तया
पश्यन्ति आत्मनि चात्मानं
पश्यन्ति आत्मनि चात्मानं
भक्त्या श्रुताग्रहितया।
भक्त्या श्रुतग्रहीतया।
Okay, any volunteers would like to read the translation and purport?
I can read translation.
Yes, Mata, you read translation, please.
The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realized that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he had heard from the Vedanta Shruti.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Anybody would like to read the purport? Okay, I can read. The absolute truth is realized in full by the process of devotional service to the Lord, Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, who is the full-fledged absolute truth. Brahman is his transcendental bodily effulgence and Paramatma is his plenary representation. As such, Brahman or Paramatma realization of the absolute truth is but a partial realization. There are 4 different types of human beings: the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the devotees. The karmis are materialistic, whereas the other 3 are transcendental. The first class transcendentalists are the devotees who have realized the Supreme Person. The second class transcendentalists are the devotees who have realized the first class are the ones who are devotees, realize the Supreme Person. Second class are those who have partially realized the plenary portion of the absolute truth. And the third class transcendentalists are those who have barely realized the spiritual focus of absolute person. So Prabhupada is saying 4 types of people: karmis, jnanis, yogis, and devotees. Out of these 3 are transcendentalists: jnanis, yogis, and devotees. Out of these 3, jnanis are those who are knowing the supreme Brahman or going towards Brahman realization. Yogis, Paramatma realization, and devotees, Bhagwan realization. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literature, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from material association. We have already discussed the point that devotional service is followed by knowledge and detachment from material association. As Brahman and Paramatma realization are imperfect realizations of absolute truth, so the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is the paths of Jnana and Yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing absolute truth. Devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge combined with detachment from material association, and which is fixed by the oral reception of Vedanta Shruti, is the only perfect method by which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the absolute truth. So the method here Prabhupada is mentioning is devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge with detachment from material association and fixed in oral reception of Vedanta Shruti, hearing the Vedic scriptures. So when we are seriously doing this process, then we can have the realization of the absolute truth. Devotional service is not therefore meant for the less intelligent class or transcendentalists. Sometimes people think, oh, bhakti means, you can't do anything better, that's why you're doing this. But actually, this is not true. This is one who has all the other realizations. There are three classes of devotees. So even within devotees, there is Uttama, Madhyama, and Kanishta. So we discussed this yesterday a little bit. Third class devotees, first class devotees, and second class devotees. So third class devotee or neophytes who have no knowledge, not detachment from material association, but who are simply attracted to the preliminary process of worshipping the deity in the temple, are called material devotees. Prakrita Bhakta or material devotees or Kanishta Adhikari, they all mean the same thing. Material devotees are more attached to material benefit than transcendental profit. So one is material benefit and the other is transcendental profit. Material benefit is like some punya or some material gain. Transcendental profit is like bhakton mukhi sukriti. Therefore, one has to make definitive progress from the position of material devotional service to second class devotions. So second class or Madhyam Adhikari is the devotee who will not fall down. Very, very strong. He has the knowledge of scriptures. He knows how to associate and deal with different categories of devotees. In the second class position, the devotee sees four principles in devotional line. So he sees four principles. First is Supreme Personality of Godhead, then his devotee, then the ignorant. Ignorant means new people who may be receptive to Krishna consciousness or not receptive, maybe just not having the knowledge. And envious. Envious means those who are envious of Krishna, those who are really not in the category where you have to um, preach to them. So there is a ninth offense to the holy name. अश्रद्धालुओं को भगवत नाम का गुणगान देना या telling the glories of holy name, preaching to the non-devotees. Basically, that is the envious people. You have to avoid to the envious people, but you have to tell to those ignorant people who are receptive. So these two, Madhyam Adhikari, he can make discrimination between the two. Kanishta Adhikari, they don't know. They will not be able to identify who is ignorant, who is envious, and they invariably land up into trouble. So that is Kanishta. Okay. One has to raise himself at least to the stage of second class devotee and become eligible to know the absolute truth. So second class level we have to come to. Then third class devotee therefore has to receive the instruction of devotional service from the authoritative sources of Bhagavad. The number one Bhagavad is established personality of devotee. So there is a book Bhagavad which we are reading, and then there is a person Bhagavad, the person who is imbibing the teaching and showing in his own life. So person Bhagavad, like we were reading in the beginning of introduction of Srimad Bhagvatam, person Bhagavad is like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He personifies these teachings we can see from his life. So that is person Bhagavad. And then the great acharyas who came after him, they are also person Bhagavad, especially acharya like Srila Prabhupada. He's personification of these teachings. So such authoritative people, we have to take the knowledge of Bhagavad from the person Bhagavad. Now, number one Bhagavad is established personality of a devotee, and the other Bhagavatam is the message of Godhead. The third class devotee therefore has to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn the instruction of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. So a Kanishta Adhikari first has to approach a Uttam Adhikari and learn from the Uttam Adhikari, and not from a professional person who's making money out of the science. Such a devotee must be representative of Sukadev Goswami like Suta Goswami. So Sukadev Goswami or Suta Goswami, these are the persons from whom we have to hear from. And like Suta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-round benefit of the people. A neophyte devotee has very little taste for hearing from authorities. Such a neophyte devotee makes a show of hearing from professional man to satisfy his senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing. So one should be very careful about the faulty process. The holy messages of Godhead as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam are undoubtedly transcendental subjects. But even though they are so, such transcendental matters are not to be received from professional man who spoils them as a serpent spoils simply by the touch of his tongue. So in the previous shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam, we heard that how this profound science is so beautiful, and because it is coming from the mouth of Sukhdev Goswami, the taste has even become more delicious. And it was explained that how a parrot, when the parrot eats the fruit from a tree, the fruit actually becomes more tasty, sweet. On the other hand, a serpent who touches the milk, the milk may appear to be the same milk, but it has become more poisonous. Sorry, it has become poisonous. Instead of having a very, very good, nutritious nature of the milk, it has become poisonous. So it appears to be milk, but it's not milk. So similarly, many times people get Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam from any place, from any writer, from any speaker. And just because they have heard them before, or they, because of cultural reasons or social etiquette or some reason, they have been hearing, so they continue to hear from them. But actually, that may not cause the transformation of the heart, and we may not really see the difference. Why? Because we are not following the process properly. So thankfully, all of us now, at least whatever happened before has happened before. We're getting the chance, so we should become serious in being able to do this. So can somebody else read the last paragraph? I have to just step out for a minute.
I can go ahead and read.
Okay.
A sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear Vedic literature like the Upanishad, Vedanta, and the other literature left by the previous authorities or the Goswamis for the benefit of for his progress. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress, and without hearing and following the instruction, the show of the devotional service becomes worthless and therefore sort of disturbance in the path of the devotional service. Unless therefore devotional service is established in the principle of Shruti, Smriti, Purana, or the Pancha, Panch, Pancha, Panchatantra authorities, the make show of devotional service should be at once be rejected. An authorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee by assimilation of such message from the Vedic literature. One can see all pervading localized aspect of the personality of the Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called samadhi. Anyone else want to discuss? I'm not very good at discussing.
Hare Krishna. So basically, what I was able to gather from this was a sincere devotee should only go to listen and read from the authoritative sources who are the bona fide gurus, and should basically not be seeking guidance from any other person who is not that bona fide spiritual master. And it is also said that we should always refer to Shruti, Smriti, Purana. These are the type of Veds you can find, like Shruti will be
Listen.
Bhagavad Gita, Smriti. Am I right? Shruti will be Bhagavad Gita. Yes.
Yeah.
And then there are Puranas and Upanishads. So basically, a person should refer to all these places for guidance and supervision, rather than any mundane person. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We should go to the next one.
Yes, Mataji, we can. I cannot control the screen.
Can somebody read the Sanskrit shloka?
Do we all have access to books? Do we have the access to books? Then we can read it from the book, the next shloka.
Well, I'm reading from iPad. Which one is on the screen now? Oh,
It's the
Mataji,
previous one.
can I ask for one clarification?
Yes, Mataji.
So in the last line, it says somebody who has assimilated all the messages from Vedic literatures, then only they are going to be called samadhi. Is that what it is saying basically?
Mataji, in the last one, it is said this that the one can see the all-pervading localized aspect of the personality of Godhead with his own self constantly. This is called samadhi. So my understanding here is like when you truly understand the message and you realize the Bhagwan aspect, not the Brahman. I mean, they are saying that when you realize one can see the all-pervading localized aspects of personality of Godhead within his self. So one who's constantly like the Uttamadhikari, who can, I think, realizes his constitutional position and realizes that, the true messages from Vedic literature is not like only philosophy. It's like, they got true message for the living entity, and all the time who's constantly busy thinking about the Krishna and completely surrendered to Krishna, and who can realize Krishna within himself. That is called samadhi. But that is not necessarily that you have to go somewhere and sit for samadhi and go to Himalayas. It's all about realizing that that you are the eternal servant of Krishna. So once you realize the Bhagwan aspect, and you realize that you're the part and parcel of Krishna, and your job and your your duty or your life should be surrendered to Krishna. So that is called samadhi. So you can, like Uttamadhikari is always in samadhi, because all the time, every minute, every second, they are busy, busy thinking about Krishna and serving Krishna in all possible ways. Hare Krishna. That's my understanding, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Also, one point that I understand that we read in Nectar of Instruction about Samadhi was it is constant and uninterrupted. So it is very difficult to attain for, I'll talk about myself, but constant and uninterrupted means but the person is not disturbed by any worldly things, and at the same time it is constantly there. So that is what is samadhi. So it's basically what exactly what Mataji said, Rakshita Mataji said, that it's constantly and uninterrupted devotion to the personality of the Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. If we have the access to book, we can read the next shlok.
Ma'am, Mataji, if you allow, can I read the next?
Yeah, Mataji, please. Prabhuji is on there on the next shlok, so you can read it from here on, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. Ata pumbhir dvija sreshta वर्णाश्रमा विभागशः स्वनुतिष्ठ तस्य धर्मस्य संसिद्धिर्हरितोषणाम् I can read the translation. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to the caste division and order of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Hey Krishna. Is uh, I mean, is it about the varnashramas here, Mataji, or like kshatriya or Brahmin, like it's mentioned here? Please help me understand it. Like, Udvija, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging one's duties according to their varn. Like if they are Brahmins, they have to perform in the Brahminical duties, Kshatriya, Shudra. For one's own occupation, according to the caste division and orders of life, is to please the personality of Godhead. So is it like you have to perform your duty, occupational duty as per your varn, um, and the purpose of doing your occupational duty is always to please the personality of Godhead. Is that they're trying to say here, Mataji, or something else? Harikul, please help me understand.
Mataji, it seems like I also don't have much knowledge. If you want, we can go ahead and read the purport so that we have a clear understanding.
Can I read the purport?
Yes, Mataji, sure.
Human society all over the world is divided into 4 castes and 4 orders of life. The 4 castes are intelligent caste, the martial caste, the productive caste, and the laborer caste. These castes are classified in terms of one's work and qualification and not by birth. Then again, there are 4 orders of life, namely the student life, the householder's life, the retired, and the devotional life. In the best interest of human society, there must be such divisions of life. Otherwise, no social institution can grow in a healthy state. And in each and every one of the above mentioned divisions of life, the aim must be to please the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. This institutional function of human society is known as the system of Varnashrama Dharma, which is quite natural for the civilized life. The Varna Ashrama institution is constructed to enable one to realize the absolute truth. It is not for artificial domination of one division over another. When the aim of life, that is, realization of the absolute truth, is missed by too much attachment from Indriya Priti or sense gratification, as already discussed herein before, the institution of the Varna Ashrama is utilized by selfish men to pose an artificial predominance over the weaker section. In the Kali Yuga or in the age of quarrel, this artificial predominance is already current, but the saner section of the people know it well that the divisions of castes and orders of life are meant for a smooth social intercourse and high thinking self realization and not for any other purpose. There are 2 more lines left.
Yeah, you can finish.
Here in the statement of Bhagavatam is that the highest aim of life or the highest perfection of the institution of Varnashrama Dharma is to cooperate jointly for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, now why in translation is saying twice born? Why it is twice born? I know that Prabhuji said one time why it is twice born, but I forgot. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, okay, go ahead, Mataji. Please go ahead.
I can't explain that, Mataji. I read it. But if
So,
someone wants to talk about it, that will be very nice.
yeah, I'm not too sure, but I would like to, just say something about this twice born. So twice born is like we call it Dvija. So once, I mean, not this I recently discussion I wasn't present, but in past I've heard that, Dvija, when you actually, so once you're born, when you know you like first time born, in your family, and the second dvija is like when you get your initiation from your guru. So they say that the actual birth is your actual life starts when you get the initiation. So that is actually you're starting your life in true sense. So here they are saying that if you are like born in a Brahmin family, but you were not acting like a Brahmin family, Brahmin, or you were born in a Kshatriya family, but you were not acting as a Kshatriya. But when you actually take the initiation, your guru can actually see, and how you can be used, or can tell you the duties, how you can serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is actually your second birth, like Dvija is like twice born. So once you were born, when you were born in a family, but you were not aware of your duties or about the aim of your life. But when you get initiated, and when you actually know your position and your varna, that how you can serve uh, the personality of Godhead, and truly understand that why you were born, what is the purpose of your born, that is why it's called Dvija. So they are here trying to say that, oh Dvija, oh twice born, like you are initiated now. So now you should be knowing the purpose. So now you can understand the essence of the literatures. So now you have the understanding to know that why you were born. So what is the purpose of your life? So now they are considering you more, that you are aware of your position. So that's why they are asking you to understand these concepts. But but if you're not initiated, then you cannot understand this. Like if you're not under the shelter of a guru or a uttama adhikari, or listening from your guru, then you cannot understand this.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Nice explanation. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So had I vaguely remember we read in Nectar of Instruction about fifth or sixth chapter also about Dvija Bandhu. Dvija Bandhu was a person, as per my Kalyug memory that I have, is a person who is supposed, for an example, born in a Brahmin family but does not have those qualities of any Brahminical nature. And that was also a person who is referred to as Vijabandhu, is as far as my whatever knowledge I have there is.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So, Dvija, if it is Dwija, refers to Brahmana. So, Dvija Patni refers to Brahmana's wives, like in Dvija Patni when we say. And Dvija, Dvija twice born here refers to what Rakshita Mataji was explaining, that you are born once, and then when you are spiritually initiated by a spiritual master, that's your second birth, where the real spiritual life starts. So that's the twice born.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, for explaining.
So
Do we want to discuss?
Just a clarification, Mataji.
Yeah. Very
No,
nice. Yeah.
no, not. I'm not clarifying what other Mataji said, but I want the clarification for my own purposes. So my question is: so if one is not born in as Brahmin, then their Dvija initiation or second birth doesn't happen. Like, because if you're not born Brahmin, then you cannot be initiated. Uh, is that what it is, or it is like no matter what,
Yeah.
when you undergo through a guru's blessing?
Mataji, this has nothing to do with birth in Brahmin family.
Okay.
Anybody, like we are not Brahmanas, we could aspire for a spiritual master and get spiritual initiation. So like it says here, it's not by this varnashram system is not by birth at all. So
No, not. I'm not talking about the varnashram. I'm just following up with the Mataji's clarification.
can aspire for a spiritual master, especially in this. So it's not just Brahmanas that get spiritual initiation.
Thank you, Mataji.
And what I really like in the purport, like they are actually trying to explain that the varnashramas and the four varn is not about, to dominate the weaker varn. It's about actually like all can be together and serve Krishna, because that's the purpose of being Krishna consciousness. But as we see around, like when we say he's a Brahmin,
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I don't think you're audible.
sorry, I got disconnected. Sorry, my internet is a little problem. Yeah. Was I
Hare Krishna,
audible?
somebody
Mataji?
speaking?
Yeah,
We can't hear.
Mataji,
I
we could
was
not
saying
hear you.
something, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Mataji, would you like to continue what you said? I could not catch what you were saying.
Yeah, sorry, Mataji, my internet is a little bit. I was saying that, as Prabhupada saying that this varnashramas and all the words like we say Kshatriya, Brahmana, they're all here to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But whereas we see nowadays, the people have different understanding of this. Like if you're a Shudra, you cannot do this. If you're a Brahmana, so they are discriminating on a different uh, basis. Like a Brahman can only do the puja or a Vigra, and Kshatriya cannot do this. But I think it's truly explained once you are initiated and your guru sees the qualities in you and asks you to do the service. Yeah, but we see in India how people do with Shudras. They cannot enter the house, they cannot do this, they cannot do Vigra Seva. But whereas it's a completely wrong understanding of the Varns. It's all about how you can serve God in a better way. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very true, Mataji. Like couple of weeks ago, we also had a discussion about it where Moshmi Mataji was also asking because if you Google sometimes what Nasham Dharma, what you can get out of it, it says that it is basically a caste system, which is a complete wrong identification for how it was before. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, and then with all devotees. So I just wanted to mention this shloka is very, very important. All the devotees mentioned very nice points on this shloka. The main essential bottom line which we must remember here, which is being mentioned, is that whatever occupation one may be engaged in, what is the goal ultimately? That ultimate goal is to please the personality of God. To please the personality of God. Somebody can ask you, where does it say in the Shastra that you have to please Krishna? You have to please the Supreme Lord. So here it's clearly mentioned. So one, whatever may be our occupation, maybe our duties. And then Prabhupada is elaborating on this, that one may have different occupations and caste division from the understanding of Varnashrama. But the highest level is to understand whatever role I may be having, ultimately, it is aim must be, here in the purport, aim must be to please the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. That is most important. All the other things are should be meant in such a way, structured in such a way that it makes us more and more, makes ourselves more and more able to achieve this ultimate aim, ultimate goal, which is to please the Supreme Personality of God. And thank you all the devotees for such nice points everybody mentioned. I think it's 9 o'clock. Anybody?
I just have a small question.
Go ahead, Madhu.
So there is also said like by qualification and by work, right? In terms of one's work and qualification, and not by birth. So during those time, what it exactly meant by qualification?
That's a very good question. So, guna and karma. Guna karma vivhagasha. Krishna is saying this in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? I think it's probably the 14th shloka. I'll have to double check. Chatur Vanyam Maya Shrishtam. So, guna and karma. Guna means the modes of material nature which are driving us. Goodness, passion, ignorance. Karma means how we are acting in those modes to be able to do things. For example, it is not just your desire of being a doctor and wanting to be a doctor, but you also have to get training and be qualified to be able to do things. So you need training. Similarly, a Brahman means you have to get training for the scriptures. You need that qualification. So you need to submit yourself and get that training. Then you are actually qualified to do things. Not without the training. Similarly, Kshatriya, how is going to fight if he is not getting the training? So qualification means training. Guna means nature. What is the nature of that person? Does it make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. I have another question, if you don't mind. So is there more on this aspect somewhere in the structure, somewhere in the scripture? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there are lots. Actually, in Bhagavatam, in the first canto, only a lot of things will come as we go forward.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll conclude here. It's almost the end. Anybody wants to make any final points? All right, thank you very much, all the devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Vancha kalpataruvashya kripa sindhubhe vichaya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavya maha. Hare Krishna.